go, oh yeah, mute button's on. Okay, I'm doing to recap.
No, carry on.
So there's a station I recommend, Corbett Report, which is very good.
Yeah.
There's got lots of, I'm interested in,
Apologies.
yeah, sorry about that. I'm interested in propaganda and communications and things like that, and he's very good at covering that side of things.
Right.
And then Rich Planet, another people I'm sure you know.
Yes.
He's up in Merthyr, so he's not far from us.
Yeah.
And scrolling down through his programs, I suddenly saw they're Welsh forensic historians. And what is going on here? I says a lot of people are more involved Wilson and Blackett for many more years than I have. I mean, they've been writing since the 80s and 90s. But when I looked in there and I saw what's going on with this Welsh history and this Wilson and Blackett, who I'd never heard of, Mr. Straight-laced me had never heard of any of this.
Yeah.
And I started reading it, and then suddenly I was just like
hooked.
What is going on?
But it is a rabbit hole when you sort of go into it first, because I remember talking about it before. When I first sort of found it all, it was a video. I think he was out in was he out in America?
Could be, yeah, with Lee Pennington and Jim Michael.
It was like a 2 or 3 hour talk, and I was just mesmerised. Really.
Yeah, he's a fantastic talker. Yes.
Okay. And then I said to him, I said, you've got to come and watch this.
Yeah.
So we both sat down and watched it together again, and we were right. We need to find out more. And then that's where. And then I found Rich Planet. Then
yes, he followed a similar trail. Yes.
And and again, he's taken me down loads of
other
other paths as well. But this one, I think, is because it's so close to home, and we can see lots of the things. They're right under.
That's the amazing thing. You can. They're just there. I mean, you don't need to.
No, they are. It's just having them pointed out to you, and you
especially South Wales. It's not just South Wales, but particularly South Wales. You can, just no distance from here, we got Hirwaun, and you can find out where the name comes from, and how they used to roam the horses there, and the battles that some people know about in later times, and right the way back. Really, you can look as much as you want to.
Because the one of the books you've had out in the last couple of months is the Glamorgan. Is it
Glamorgan and Gwent? Is that
Glamorgan and Gwent?
King Arthur, King of Gwent.
Yes. Saying about this was taught in schools 100 years ago.
Oh, excuse me, that history of Glamorgan book. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And so this was
crazy, isn't it?
All taught in schools, and then 100 years ago it was. No, we're going to teach.
Well, this is when the whole history just suddenly got deleted, really, or hidden. I mean, it's why people say, why do you call it hidden? It sounds provocative. It's just forgotten or neglected. No. Someone consciously made an effort to hide this.
Yeah, and when you start digging, you do unearth things, and it starts.
It's hard to miss as well, really. It's everywhere.
It is, and you'll ask yourself those questions then. Oh, so what else? What else?
Yes.
What else am I missing? And then again, the rabbit hole that you.
Well, it gets very deep, that rabbit hole with Wilson and Blackett. I mean, we've got 4 more books of theirs coming out.
Yeah. As
quickly as we can. So one will be out, hopefully, going to print the next week or 2. And that's going to be they're all controversial, but I think there's a couple they didn't want to publish because I think they thought they were too controversial, and they backed away. They don't seem to mind me doing it, though.
You go broad shoulders.
Well, we're too old now. We don't care anymore. Go on, shove it out there. Like, oh yeah, thanks, Al.
What can they do just now?
What about me, mate? Yeah, well, there you
go. But that's the thing, though. Since the 70s, really, they've been doing this, and they've had all things thrown at them to try and stop them publishing.
Yes, very sad that is.
Where there's I know there's loads of books out there that are claimed to be this and claimed to be that, and they leave them alone. They don't bother with anything. It's only when there's a question of why don't you want us to see this? Why don't you want us to see these things? And it's just having.
Yeah, I try to avoid that as much as possible, really.
Yeah. I bet.
Well, the fun part is one of the things I like about Wilson and Blackett is I read an enormous amount of books, but what they do is they just follow the evidence, and that's what they give you.
Yeah.
and they put together from the evidence.
And
There's too many other things. There's so many books, you read the first bit, and you think, oh, that's a really convincing argument. And the next thing you know, it's flown off in all sorts of directions. You think, well, whoa, you're just guessing now, you're putting your ideas in there.
Yeah.
All of it's backed up, and it's great then.
And that's the thing, and it's the evidence is there, and if you follow it and go through it all, it's, you can see it yourself. It's not something that when most people, I talk to, and you probably the same. You talk to people, they're what are you interested in this week? Yeah? What are you interested in? I say, a bit of industry. Right. This is again that terrible word, conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, I get thrown around a lot, doesn't it?
And they don't even know what it means. I think we covered this last time.
Yeah.
But it's just about thinking outside the box and not taking everything that you hear as gospel, really, and just really willing to take other people's opinions, really, without.
Yeah, it's awful the way. Yeah, it's awful the way that term's been weaponised. I mean, it seems to be a CIA thing to weaponise it, but because everything, this is a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Us two have colluded to meet at a certain point to make this programme or whatever.
Sound effect,
But that's all it means, But it's got this kind of connotation when someone says it that you're meant to feel stupid, aren't you? Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, it's a put down.
It is a real put down, and it's a very effective one. It really puts you on the back foot.
Totally. Well, I've been called in loads. I say thank you now. So thank you very much.
I'm trying to think of a good riposte, and I haven't come up with one yet.
No, I am. So it's only like thank you I can give.
A consensualist. You're a consensualist theorist, so you just go along with everything. Or I don't know, it's something like that. Because everything that ever happens is usually a conspiracy. It's a strange term.
And it is a strange term, and we all know history works of, it's not just the winners write history, but, it's stories get embellished and they change with who's telling them. So, some stories are sort of, we've grown up and we've, for instance, Christopher Columbus.
Oh, yeah.
Taught in school, isn't it?
Yes.
And now it's, no, that none of that.
Well, you never even got to mainstream America anyway.
None of that was true.
Yeah, none of that was true.
But this is what, you go out to talk to the general public and ask them about who's Christopher Columbus. Oh, he's the guy that discovered America.
Yeah. Well, what's frustrating is I wish I could remember. But anyway, what's frustrating is people have such strong views about these things.
Yeah.
When they've never done any research or read about them. This is where it gets frustrating.
Yeah, I think that's the defence mechanism.
But it's like, there's a Samuel Johnson quote I saw the other day, and it was, he said, I'm going to mess it up, unfortunately, I didn't memorise it. What he's basically saying, yeah, I know about this subject because I've read about it, you haven't, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I am allowed to comment because I've studied it. It's something like that. Yes.
I love the monocle of expert, because nobody's an expert of anything. You may know a lot about things, but nobody's an expert about anything.
Yeah, you've got to be constantly.
You just got to keep that open mind and learn something new.
You're very careful, I find, not to put yourself in corners as well.
Yeah.
Because that's where the defence mechanisms kick in.
Well, yeah, because somebody goes against what you were thinking, instead of going, oh, right, okay.
Yeah, maybe that could be.
Talk to me about it, but people are not willing to talk about it. It's just like, no.
Well, I think we got a nice atmosphere on the Facebook group anyway. That's a good thing.
Do you know what it is? It's quite a family there.
It's a friendly atmosphere. We don't have that kind of nastiness you see in a lot of groups.
No, and I said you police yourselves as well. So everyone, it's nice. Everyone's nice to each other.
Yeah, and I find new things. Today something went up and it was new to me. So it's just that. Like you said, no one's an expert. We're all trying to find, aren't we?
Yeah, and that's just
all on a journey. Is what the
knowledge, and that I think that's one of the secrets of life. Life is about you never learn everything. So it's always about learning.
Impossible, yeah.
There's a great person once said to me, "Every day's school day."
Every day's a school day. We don't tell my children that. No. It just feels like that. But it is a difficult one to. Always be learning, I try and say, isn't it? Always be learning.
It is. And my views have changed completely different, to 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. So, and it's only since I've sort of been more willing to listen to other people's point of view, really, and go, oh, right, okay.
You've got to have an interest in people as well.
Maybe I'm not quite right on this. Right,
Yes.
And it does take a lot to say, I could be wrong.
Impossible.
I don't like it. I don't like doing it, but it has been known to
Impossible,
say,
yes.
I could be wrong there.
And it's only December.
Yeah.
Second mistake this year.
So the books, there's. I said we started. Alan's were huge, weren't they? Really, they were volumes rather than than books, and so you were helping him break them down.
Well, there's a few things going on. Yeah, we got the original books. So in some cases, like reprinted Moses in the Hieroglyphs, which I want to say too much about these books. We'll be here all night because they're about.
When we got plenty of time.
Well, we're up to about 11 books or something. Yeah. Oh, I was staying all night then. Yeah.
I'm sleepy for
the oh, yeah. You're always on. But because if people aren't aware of their work at all, one of the amazing things is if you look at the not just Welsh, British records.
Yeah.
The British people always claim to descend from Troy, and before that, wherever you follow the trail, okay, and like. London used to be called New Troy, Troy Novantis, and you've got various places around England called Troy. And Brutus is supposed to have landed in Totnes, and you've got the Brutus stone is still there. There was physical evidence. There was a myth and a legend. Well, if it's a myth and a legend, why is there a stone there with this? Called the Brutus stone. And why is it why have you got, if King Lud didn't exist, why have you got Ludgate in London, and why did you go down and you can find the original arch that he's supposed to have built when they kicked the Romans out? Everything, I guess, frustrating. But when you follow this further back, and we've got another research making at the moment, which will be another book coming out in a few months. I don't know how we're going to get them all done. There's a huge amount of evidence for Brutus and where he landed, and you can see all about it and follow that all the way back to Etrusca or Etruria, and back to Anatolia and all that kind of thing. That's in the future. If you look at Wilson and Blackett, what they did cleverly, they looked at the language, the Welsh language, as the language connections is the key.
Yeah.
As they call it, Welsh is a living fossil of a very ancient language, very ancient Assyrian. So you follow that back along the route, so you can read Etruscan, which no one else can. It's ridiculous because you can read it. You just use Welsh.
Yeah.
And the old Welsh writing system, Colburn. Back to Anatolia, and then bizarrely it ends up back in Egypt, where you find the Welsh is the language behind the hieroglyphs. And this sounds crazy, but people have been putting this idea forward since the 1790s. And it's not a new idea. It's crazy. Just no one would follow it up. They tried almost every language, but they refused to try Welsh.
And if anyone wants to try this, then there is the book that they can...
Yeah, got a new version of that coming out, Cymroglyphics, I call that.
Yeah, and and get it honestly, because you can
easy.
Have a go at yourself.
Yeah, it's quite easy actually.
You know what I mean?
It's designed to be easier than writing. There's no spelling involved. You just say the shapes out loud in Welsh, and then what you hear is
what it
is.
Yeah.
It's
simple
like,
as that, really.
Like in English, they call it the rebus principle, where you might have a bee and a leaf, so it's bee leaf. It's So it's a bit like that. But Welsh is the language. So the problem is, Welsh is the language, and because it's all by sound, unless you get the right language, and you know what it sounds like, you can't possibly do it.
Yeah.
So up until now, they've been guessing because they've been trying Coptic and Aramaic and Hebrew and all these.
But yet, like you said,
it doesn't work.
They were known about this.
They refused to try Welsh. In the 1840s, there was like von Bunsen, the great German or Prussian in those days, etymologist and language expert, and he said Welsh is the language behind it. A German was saying this in the 1840s. And they refused to follow it up. Finally, they started about, the 1890s, 50 years later, they did start putting what they call a working group or an academic working group
together
from Oxford and Cambridge to look into this. And nothing seemed to happen for about 20 years. They were supposed to report, and then World War I came along, and they just kicked into the long grass. And I'm not saying something World War I to prevent the Welsh language getting out, but no, that was it. It got forgotten over World War I. So Moses in the Hieroglyphs was my introduction to how this works.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about how you can then read the hieroglyphs opens up so much more. Because then the reason it's called Moses in the Hieroglyphs, because you can read about him and Joseph and all these people.
And It is mesmerising.
Yeah, it is.
When you think about
It's
it.
phenomenal.
Because you could imagine being down the pub if they were allowed to open. Being down the pub.
I remember pubs,
And going in there and telling someone, what are you reading?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm translating hieroglyphs from the Welsh language. And again, what? Because it sounds...
Yeah, bizarre.
It
totally
sounds
bizarre. Totally bizarre.
But yet it works.
Yeah, and that was even...
And again, you'd think even since you released your book that, the mainstream would have picked this up.
Well, they are starting to.
Good.
They are starting to. So there's a publisher in America doing a second edition. Excuse me.
Great.
And I think his university's been asking for copies, and maybe some mainstream media will get involved.
Obviously, Jacs Radio is...
I set it off once that happened.
Now you've been on Jacs Radio.
Once I did Benney Bebbles, actually. I mean, it just started growing then, That was...
Don't sit there, I'll ask for commission.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, look out. You still got the copyright on that transmission, So anyway, so that book was just reprinted.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't get it. These books are selling for like £1,000 or 50. If you look on eBay
or
Amazon, the prices were crazy.
I looked myself, me and my friend, we were like, all right, we could get these.
Yeah, fortunes.
And he was like, no, we won't.
Well, that's the same as censorship in my book.
It is. Because we couldn't understand. Why are they so expensive?
And why can't you get them anymore?
Yeah. And why can't you get them? It was sort of because if you broke them down and sold them separately, it'd be. But yeah, like you said,
I don't know what happened to all the books as well. I'm not convinced they all were bought either. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theory. The books went anyway. Put it that way. You couldn't get a copy.
No, all went.
There was a few people sitting on their copies expecting to get as a nest egg, £1,000 each, and suddenly I just reprinted them all with Wilson and Blackett, I might add.
Yeah, obviously.
And we share the money with them and all that kind of thing. We don't make a lot of profit, to be blunt, but we make a few quid and they get a share of it.
Because is it the website the best place to get the books?
Yeah, just go straight to cumroglyphics.com.
Cumroglyphics.com.
Yeah, or look for Britain's Hidden History. If you type that as one word with no apostrophe, you should find us.
It'll pop up.
Yeah, Facebook, YouTube, whatever.
It is. I tune in every Sunday.
Yeah, a Sunday 8 o'clock show. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, I do. I tune in every Sunday too.
Oh, thank you.
It's my sit down, and that's I don't watch telly. I
got rid of my TV a long time ago. Yeah,
I watch YouTube. And say if somebody tells me something's on Netflix, my daughter's trying to use Netflix.
Oh, okay. So, I want to see absolutely like a chess program. That's the only thing I want to see on the TV.
Well,
Queen's Gambit.
Queen's Gambit. Yeah, I've seen that.
Because chess is my other hobby. Yeah.
I'll have to have a look at that. But so YouTube is my place. Things I watch, and said a few during lockdown. I'd seen you doing an interview with Alan a couple of months before.
Yeah, I've got some more interviews to go up. So I saw Alan about 6 weeks ago. No, I had to go up there because the lockdown and everything. Yeah. He's old and he's isolated. So that was a real palaver sorting that out.
I can imagine.
I had to basically be isolated and everything. It was all a nightmare.
During the lockdown.
Yeah. And Newcastle had those extra restrictions and I was getting all the way up there thinking, please I don't want a problem now. Just, yeah. So there we are. Anyway, it all went fine. Thank goodness. I got some more interviews to put up with Alan Wilson.
Oh, cool.
Because he's the daddy. He's so charismatic, and he's just got that confidence and knowledge.
I think it was his passion that won me over. I watch loads of people talking about stuff on YouTube, and sometimes it can be. But he stood there on this stage, and he had so much passion about what he was talking about, and I was like, well, if he's that passionate about it, there must be something in it. He's not just doing it for the sake, I want to say this stuff. He believes
The more you go into it, the more you can't fail to be moved by it.
No.
Because everything hangs together, and every time you get new information, it just adds and adds and adds. It never gets to the situation where you think, hang on a second, that just messed everything up. That doesn't fit. That never happens.
And I suppose...
He's a genius.
How old is he now?
87, 88? 88 now, 88. Yeah, just turned 88. He should be a national treasure,
Yeah, for all the work that he's done, for British history.
That's the saddest thing of all. Because he loves people as well.
You can see that, and you can see as the years go on, there was a little bit of frustration, which is totally natural. I would be exactly the same.
Yeah. He's had some dreadful treatment.
Exactly, and it's sort of, but to see him at that age,
and so you want to see him as well. If the lockdown hadn't come, I was organising some like dinners and stuff.
Right.
Nothing fancy, just as a big pub not far from where they live, and all that lined up. So we go have a meal, we have a chance to meet Alan, have a chat with him, and I get him up on the stage. He can still do it, you know.
Yeah, and
so he does repeat himself a bit sometimes, as old people tend to do.
I do it as well, don't we? We all do that.
Yeah, so as long as he's sort of there to moderate a bit, just nudge him along now and again. Yeah. His knowledge is still incredible. My boys call him, what's he called? Ultron from the... he's plugged into the internet. He just knows everything.
Well, it is.
He just knows everything. And Barham's great because he does all the organising and filing. And so it is a team.
Because, I'd like to say that it is a thanks to you for sort of picking up that mantle. And
someone had to do it. It's going to die again, you know?
It was.
Awful.
My friend Matthew said, I refer back to him all the time because it was him, you know, I sort of watch all these things with. And it went quiet. It went quiet for a long time.
It's going to be forgotten again. I realised this.
And
I couldn't even work out how to get in touch with them or anything because they're not on the internet.
No.
We did a fundraiser in our with people on the Facebook group. It was great. Raised the money. Got a couple of notebook computers. I've set them all up, plugged them in, videos, everything. I still think they've used them, so I go up again and say, right,
this is how you do it.
People want to see you,
and we do, and I think it's sort of. I think you'll have a shock to see how much admiration people have got for.
Yes, I'm very encouraging everyone at the moment to either send them cards or messages, or just email me and I'll print them out and send them off.
Yeah, because
if they need it, their morale, because Alan should be out there. I mean, Barron's a bit shyer, but Alan is a real people person.
He is.
He should be doing speaking tours,
and he's
being driven by Rolls Royce from place to place with hundreds of people.
When he's talking about it, because it is so, you know, fascinating to see people's faces.
We have so much knowledge. I mean, this is what you mentioned about YouTube channels. You call it University of YouTube, isn't it? You can learn a lot.
You can learn anything.
What drives me bonkers is quite often when there's something interesting to be learned from a video, I go on it. The video's like an hour and a half. What I always say, that's something they've managed to cram a 10-minute show into an hour and a half. You know,
they've stretched it with Alan. It's the other way around.
Alan, it's so much in there. You have to pause, rewind, pause, watch it 2 or 3 times.
It is, and it's worth it as well.
And you can see it because we've got 11 books out so far. There's another 4 or 5 coming. And like you said, the issue is editing them down into more manageable volumes because how they did it, I do not know. There's like 12 separate subjects really. And they're all huge.
Sure he hasn't got a time machine.
I don't know how he does it. I say the boys call him Ultron because it's the internet.
It is how to sort of collate all that information to begin with, make sense of it,
and store it all in his brain.
Store it all, and then write it all on paper.
Yeah.
I write on my computer, but I'm more of a pen and paper.
Yeah, me too. Yes.
Kind of guy. I take it in.
Yeah, I always got a pen in my
but. To have his brain would just be incredible.
Yeah, well, I think that's it. Yeah,
the information is in there.
I guess drawbacks to him in normal life sometimes, but it's incredible, and he's just a nice guy. But in the new book that Robert Shaw has just written, it's called Architecture of Power, which is all about how the fire of London was deliberate and King did it and all this.
Oh, right, I know. Yeah.
And this isn't conspiracy stuff. There was a parliamentary hearing, and there's a report, and it's in the report.
They caught loads of people.
Caught the red-handed. And then King James, or Prince James, he called Prince James at that stage. He was the Duke of York. Well, not far off.
Yeah.
He would come along with his knights, because this is so 17th century, so they're still wearing armour and swords and things. And they had like there was monks, mostly French, because he was doing a deal with the French king. And then James would turn up on his horse and say, I'll take those. And they'd take these arsonists and then they'd get them out.
Let him go. Like the fire over there.
Stick them on. Yeah. And the plague was arranged, which seems that's a bit mind-blowing, and all the other things. But the reason I mention that book as well is the bloke who's written it, Rob Shaw, he's an expert in, he deals mostly with children with learning difficulties and behavioural problems, like Tourette's and ADHD and all this kind of thing. And by exercises of the mind, just games and stuff, no medication, you can really improve that. And he really looks into how people think. So one of the things he mentions in that book is a lot of it's about what was going on at the time, why they were prepared to just slaughter each other, and have these ideas they had, and why London is laid out like it is. It's a fascinating book. One of the things mentions in there that when writing first came out, a lot of people thought it was the devil's work. It was horrendous because it makes the brain lazy. You don't have to remember anymore.
No, because you're writing it down,
Yeah, and there was an Indian proverb I heard recently, which was that you don't take a photograph, you don't take a picture to help you remember, you take a picture to allow yourself to forget.
Do you know what?
Just thinking that over and over.
It
is though, isn't it?
But it is.
You write it down, you think, well, I'm going to remember it now, or you take a picture.
You're right there,
It's giving you a lazy brain, really. So I try more and more like to work without written notes, just to get your brain working more. Because Alan can do that. Do you know a lot of his books was written?
I really need to practice that.
Yeah, well, you do. You have to train it, practice it. Because you find, one of the reasons I like doing my show and everything so much, and talking to people and interviews, is I am forced then to recount the information.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not sitting here with a load of notes or anything. I've got to remember all these names and dates and numbers, and you get better at it.
And it does mesmerise me on a Sunday night. You're there, and you know, it's the flow of it and the information that you were trying to put out, because you were trying to
shovel it out there.
Shovel it out there, and if there's anyone out there that does love history and looking into it, Ross is always looking for people to shovel some stuff onto so you can do some of the work.
Yes. We've got so much work to do.
And it is a team effort.
Absolutely, I want to say that as well.
And that's why I what I like about the group is everyone is
people are chipping in and doing things.
I'll help, and then that is spreading the word. Then
I mean, there's a Mark Austin and Kerry, and they just had a load of notes. They couldn't scan them in; they weren't well enough from quality.
Right.
From Alan at Barham, a whole new book again, and so we organised typists and they collate it all, and that'll be coming out, and that's going to be even more mind blowing than the other ones. But I mean, the sort of mind he's got is bizarre, right? There's one of the books that I've got to get out now. I think now is about the. Have you heard about the New Odyssey or the First Odyssey? The book's going to be called First Odyssey. Well, how he worked this out. What he worked out is that Homer's Odyssey, which you're all probably familiar with, when it's the journey back after Troy, and then you got this guy Odysseus, and he spends 3 to 10 years, depending on how you read the book, lost in the Mediterranean. Well, I mean, you could float across the Mediterranean on a raft in a day or two. How the hell?
I couldn't get lost.
The great Odysseus, you know, the cunning one, the one who came up with the idea of the Trojan horse and everything, can't get over.
The River Taff.
Yes.
Took me 3 weeks to get across from one side of Pocking to the other.
Mind you, once I pass Gethley, I'm lost as well. Mind you, any further north, I don't know where I am. There's what he worked out was what the journey being described is actually a journey around the world. And with the help of reading hieroglyphs, you know who it was. And this journey was at least 700 BC. And that could be a retelling of an even older story. We went around the world. So it's funny you mentioned Columbus earlier. Yeah. Because similar way, you got Magellan. Well, that's another great story, Magellan. But anyway, he didn't go around the world. Although everyone says he's the first to navigate the world, he never did. That's another thing. And see, everywhere you go, you get sidetracked, only. But anyway, the story with Odysseus, or actually Ben Anath, the Egyptian, when he goes south, it's south through the Red Sea. So you're coming off, south a bit on the, hang on, let's come around, east side of Egypt. Yeah. So you've got Libya on the west, then you've got Egypt over towards Israel. You've got the Red Sea coming down, where the Suez Canal is. Right. So effectively, they did have a canal back in those days as well, as Suez Canal. But they've gone from the Red Sea and they've sailed south. So then you come to the Horn of Africa. They've got, could do a map here now, show you, isn't it? They've got the Arabian Gulf. But if you swing east, sorry, I'm going east or west. Yeah, it is east. You end up hitting basically India and northern Pakistan. Right. So there's a place there, Mohindani. I haven't quite said that quite right. Where they got archaeological. Might not have done actually. I'm trying to remember the name. It's so good my memory is. I forgot that was now. So there's you've got a city there which you got archaeological evidence of being sacked. Right. So you're saying that's the first stop where they sacked this city. Because the curious thing is then you see you have them travelling for weeks in a southerly direction. But you can't do that in the Mediterranean. You'd be hitting If you went 40 days south, you'd hit the North Africa.
Yeah, they're going to hit something.
Whereas you can follow the coast of Pakistan, India, and then you start coming into the, towards Indonesia then.
So it comes on
Indonesian islands down towards Australia. And then a lot of the story of the Odyssey starts to make sense. Because when they talk about these extremely long days, where if a man had enough energy, he could work a double shift.
Yeah.
Well, if you're down by the South Pole, and you're there in the winter, or the summer, you get almost endless
days.
Yes.
Yeah, I suppose the sun
everything starts to make sense. And what they've done is work out the whole journey. It then goes round and the big one, if you know the story at all, you have to choose between two routes. And you've got the cliffs there are really of Scylla.
Right.
And the crashing seas.
Yes, yeah.
And you've also got the land of fire. Well, if you know the land of fire in Spanish, is Tierra del Fuego, which is off the south tip of South America.
Right.
And the channel they're talking about going through is what is known as the Strait of Magellan. That's the channel. And the other alternative is to go all the way around the bottom of South America, which is known as Drake's Passage.
Yeah.
So what you're looking there is you can read. One of the things was an extremely long way around I have to explain the background. One of the things, Alan, in the book, he talks about Desolation Island,
right,
marking the entrance or exit. Oops, sorry, keep hitting the microphone, get me in trouble. Depending which way you're going through this strait off the bottom of South America,
right,
there's a Desolation Island. Now I'm about to draw the maps and everything for this new book, which is just about done. Just got to get out there now, just be proofed and corrected and things. And then, so I thought I better check which one is Desolation Island. It's not really marked, and it's a tiny island. So when you search it on the internet, sure enough, up it comes.
Yeah.
But that's south of Madagascar, south of Africa. And it's a French house station. It's nowhere near South America.
Yeah, it's completely...
So I'm like, my God, I don't believe it. I found a mistake. Because I'm always desperate to find mistakes. It's not like a cult, where they've done nothing wrong. I am constantly testing everything.
It's finding those mistakes that lead you
down. Yeah, you never know what's going to lead you, isn't
exactly.
it? And also, I don't want to just say just print whatever he says, but it does usually turn out correct, though. So I think, I don't know to laugh or cry, Like, how do I put this in a letter to him? So I don't know what you're doing, man. I found Desolation Island. It's down, it's nowhere near where you said. It's near below Africa and all this. So I was going to write a letter and explain. So here's the map and here's the reference from Wikipedia and all blah, 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 And I thought, well, I can't just send that. I've got to be, never just send someone a problem. You send a solution.
It's a solution, yeah. So
let's have a look round the entrance of the Magellan Strait and see which island I think it should be. So I've zoomed in. Look. There's this tiny dot called Desolation Island. And it doesn't come up on searches.
No way.
How did you know that? How did you know that? And then you start reading the stories because they never use the internet. That's what I know. How do they know about the internet? Because with the internet, you can find these things, right? And you search in, you find out that actually it's mentioned in Moby Dick, which might be where you mentioned it. It's part of the whalers' route. Right. So you might have read it there and there's other things.
But it was interesting. He was saying about where he got his information from in the last interview, where in Growing Up. With all
yeah. That is fantastic. Yes.
And it's because they said everyone had gone to war. All his teachers were men in their 80s.
All these retired guys,
and things like that, they were teaching him what they know. And
they weren't bothered about syllabuses and exams and all that kind of stuff. They just
it's like you said, as if he was sort of meant to do all this.
Yeah, because I have the incredible mind to take it in.
Yeah.
Arrived there because he was from Cardiff, but he was evacuated in the war, right out to a little place in West Wales. So everything worked out beautifully, and he was clever enough to pick up the language. And he said one of the things as well was the local pub. As long as you were quiet and respectful, the old boys didn't mind you sitting around when you were little, as long as you listened. And obviously they could see he was a bright boy, and they told him a lot of the stuff. And that formed a basis then, which he sort of carried on. And luckily he's lived till, 80 odd and still going strong. And it creates that link, doesn't it?
And we are those.
Yeah. Well, I've got little boys. That's what I'm hoping.
And it's sort of, it is like you said. It's like opening, something magical when you start going down that route.
Yeah.
It's sort of wow. I didn't realise that there. So oh, that's not what I was taught in school. Or
Oh,
that's
That's
that's not what I've been brought up to believe.
No, it's not the teacher's fault. Usually,
no, it's not. It's the syllabus that they've been taught all their life. Exactly, it's just that misinformation.
But look how things. But look how the oral tradition can work. So, say Alan Wilson, when you'd have been, say, 7 or 8. If he's got a teacher aged 80-something, say there's 70 years
difference between them.
He was born 70 years before Alan. 70 years difference between them. So we're back to 1880s or 1870s. So then you've got till now. Then you've got, say, my son's sake of argument. They're all about 10 roughly. So by the time they're 80, we're into the year 2090.
Something like that,
So suddenly you realise you've covered well over 200 years just by 2 conversations, really. That's so people underestimate the power of oral tradition. 2 conversations has taken you from the 1880s, 70s, all the way up to 2080s, 90s.
I don't think the problem that we've got these days is about us saying, it's about us listening now, isn't it? I don't think much opportunity. I think this is one. If you want to get to conspiracy theories, one complaint is the reason all the pubs and everything's been shut down is that's where people go to talk. No, and again, I understand everything that people throw out there doing all of this because none of it makes sense.
No,
none of it makes sense. So you are going to question things, and when you're being told, "Don't be silly," you should be thinking this. Your own pride and our egos will take over and say, "No, hang on a minute."
I do want to have a chat about it. But you can't talk to anyone. You're not supposed to socialise. You can't go to a pub.
You can't have a chat about it. It's always an argument. It always seems to turn into an argument.
I'm sorry to hear that. But it doesn't have to.
No, it shouldn't. And that's the thing. People should be able to have conversations, even like about now.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Because disagreement used to be allowed, didn't it? Sometimes it doesn't seem.
You're not allowed to have an opposite of opinion. You're a bad person if you've got an opposite of opinion. So asking, so why did you believe that?
Exactly.
That's what when somebody, if I come across something, I want to know why.
Yeah, where'd you get that from, isn't it?
And
did you just get it off the telly? Which is a little bit provocative, but it's kind of what you want to say.
It is, and it's sort of, and sometimes when I do that, I learn something.
All the time, yeah.
Oh right, okay, right. I never thought of looking at something in that thing, and it's I can imagine him as a small boy in a small little Welsh village pub.
Over in Cumderry or somewhere.
There was no telly.
Nothing to do.
There was no sport for him to watch. All they had to do was sit there.
No Xboxes or anything.
And talk about days gone by. And I suppose that's what they did talk about.
Philosophise and things like that, isn't it? It's we lost a lot there.
We have, and then obviously you had the slant on the Welsh language with with the Welsh knot and everything like that as well. And going back then to the hieroglyphics. They obviously knew because since the 17th century that this was possible.
Well, this is the crazy thing about it.
What is the problem? Is there a
Well, it's a huge problem, you see.
Are we not supposed to speak Welsh?
Does it
give us secret powers? Does it give us powers of manifestation? I think I should do my manifestation in Welsh.
Pharaoh in Welsh means high power, so...
Yeah.
So, I mean, all these Egyptian words translate into Welsh, you find. Like Princess Tia, T-Y-T-I-Y-E, Tia, T-Y, you are beautiful, it's in Welsh. All these names and titles are Welsh, pyramids, pharaohs, all of it.
I am going to start my meditation in Welsh now, I think.
Oh, right. That's what I've got to learn about, is meditation. I'm not very good at doing nothing. I have to have active relaxation. I have to have a book or listen or do something. I'm too good.
Honestly, that's my family. I can close my eyes and go to sleep like that.
Benny, don't leave me on my own.
Yeah, it never used to be like that. I was a good sleeper as a child. As throughout my adult life, I started working nights.
The art of sleep is good. Sleep's very good.
But now, drop the hat. I can go sleep.
Fantastic. That's a real talent, that is.
It is. I'll teach. It's all about breathing.
You can teach me some of that. Yeah.
I'll teach you some of that.
I used to have when I used to work quite hard hours, I couldn't be bothered with 8 hours sleep. Like if I have a break, so it's distracting. I used to imagine, close my eyes and imagine a white piece of paper in my hands, and then the piece of paper coming closer and closer and closer, till everything's blocked out by this white, And I could sit there for about 15, 20 minutes, and I felt like I had a night's sleep. It was amazing.
No,
I lost the knack, Sam. I don't know. I can't seem to do it now.
Power nap. I do it.
Power nap. That's it. Yeah.
I do it. See, no. Again,
I have a power nap now. I don't sleep at all. Or I get up 4 hours later. You know, it's like I can't just either sit there for 20 minutes and feel refreshed. Like doesn't.
When I first wake up, I'm like, oh, but then I give myself a shake, and I do. But you think about it, across the world, some sort of not civilizations. What am I talking about? Societies. In Spain and places like that.
Yeah, little siesta.
They have a siesta. They start the day much earlier, and they finish it much later.
Yeah. See the children running around at 11 o'clock at night in the restaurants and things.
I know they got the weather for it. It's not something we could do.
Yeah.
Around that.
No. We have to these days, don't we?
Yeah.
Do you see that thing around Facebook? They were saying that this latest all the pubs are shut and no alcohol and everything. He said the Welsh should be training for this as kids, hanging around parks in -5, drinking bottles of cider. Yeah. We're hardened to it since our teens. Who needs a pub?
Sitting under a tree somewhere drinking.
Yeah, pretending it's not freezing.
A bottle of white lightning.
I was going to say white lightning. Yeah, that was what I thought. Diamond white.
Mad Dog 2020. Yeah, Mad Dog. Yeah, Mad Dog.
Oh, Mad Dog. Yeah, we get the.
Those are the days.
I was a good boy, so I was so square. Trying to catch up now, I am. Yeah, but there's things like that come up all the time. It's amazing. Look at the.
Well, it is, and you said
the depth of knowledge is just it blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind how they know everything.
Well, no, and
I keep checking it, and I dig and dig, and I've got in the group is fantastic because I can't do it all. I don't even pretend to.
Yeah.
And I always say, whoever's done it gets the credit. It's great, and everyone loves just to be part of it.
Yeah.
And we got someone who's an expert on like Greek and words and etymology. And there's something he'd written in one of his books. And I was like, I'm not sure where he's got that from. Why has he done that? I can't find it. We went through 4 or 5 translations of Odyssey. Well, actually, she did. And then finally went back and found the original Greek version of the story.
Yeah.
And with the old Greek dictionaries and translated it and said, oh, yeah, it is there. It's just not in the translations.
Well, again,
it's like, how did he know that? He meant the damn thing in Greek,
Is the changing in language as well?
Yeah.
Said, Welsh has changed over the years as well.
That's right, yeah, and the translations.
I used to be like...
It's quite toasty in here, isn't it?
It is.
It was cold in my house.
I used to get a bit annoyed with the Welsh purists. I speak Welsh, and it was like, well, as long as somebody's having a go, don't have a go, don't have a go.
Yes.
But I now, as I've got older, I kind of realise how much Welsh has changed, even since I started school.
Yeah,
and I look back and I look at it now, well, that's not a word. I know, this is what I...
Well, this is a big concern, really. We've seen about the... when I'm doing the hieroglyphics, the dictionaries I've got are like 1700. They're the earliest dictionaries you can find, because a lot of the words just aren't used anymore or don't even exist anymore.
No, and
the meaning's changed, which is even worse, because they can really mislead you.
And changed it.
And grammar changes, even syntax changes.
Yeah, and all language. I'm a strong believer that language is a very powerful tool. It's just, what do? You spell words.
Yeah, spell.
So
you see,
it's a spell. You
cast a spell. That's right. Yes.
So it is. So language is important, and and you find it even more when you read things like this, how things have progressed throughout the years and been lost because of changes in languages and things like that. And sometimes maybe that's what it's been, just because of the way the dialect has changed.
It seems, yes,
told differently.
Yes. But dialect, I think you've hit the right word there, because one of the it's too controversial. Well, it's all controversial, really. But one controversial thing is, like you said, why hide this information?
Yeah.
Well, of course, the main reason would seem to be that if you can prove the language link, you then prove the migrations, and then you prove this whole nonsense of us being some sort of Celtic barbarians, tribes that wandered out from Europe.
Yeah.
Because it's not. It's a civilization arrived, a very highly developed one. First metallurgists in the world, all sorts of technologies and law systems going way back.
Well, yeah, it's that Dark Ages thing, what's happened. Dark Age. What's
dark about it? Yes.
How could you not know what happened for 200 years?
Longer than that even. Yeah.
It's a.
I mean, they don't be illiterate and barbaric, and yet they find coins from way before the Romans, hundreds of years before. And Malmudian laws going back to like 500-600 BC and stuff. Law systems
with the Mabinogion, and so the stories. So sort of what I was told as growing up is, these are the stories, but they've been put into child stories to carry it on. They've been hidden in these.
Well, they are. They're fabulous.
And as a child, it was like, oh right, yeah. But again, as I've grown older, and I read them, and I've gone, oh right, okay, yeah. It does.
Have you seen the Alan Wilson thing on them? What the Mabinogi really for? Was all astrological, so a lot of it's to do with stars and stuff.
Right, the stars, yes. I think that.
A little bit, touched on it, yeah. I mean, it goes right back to creation and how the world was formed, all that's all in the Mabinogi. And it's kind of been hidden by, wasn't it, Charlotte Guest, wasn't it? Had them translated and made to the Mabinogi and just almost disguises children's stories, really.
Stories, yeah.
And some of the stories don't make a lot of sense. And then suddenly you see this sort of the astrology behind them, astronomy.
The patterns that are there. It's, right, yeah, just cleverly hidden in front, in front of us, really, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because you have like when Arthur's playing Goithbulth, with Prince Owain.
Yeah.
Like it's in the Dream of Ronwy, I think that one's in. And these people keep interrupting their game. These knights coming back and forth to talk to them. Well, the colours represent the direction. And if they're flashing, they represent planets.
Right.
And if you look at the centre of this star map, this massive map, I mean, we're talking tens of miles around South Wales, as above, so below, mapping out where all the stars are. So
and you've got all the things atop the mountains.
Yes, there's an example of hidden. St. Genydd, right? Supposed to be Seng, no particular word, and Kenneth. Some St. Kenneth or something. Except it doesn't seem to be a St. Kenneth. You can't find who Kenneth is anywhere.
Yeah.
Whereas if you think what our Welsh Parliament equivalent is called the Senedd,
yeah.
Well, St. Genydd, that is where the centre was. Right. So it's a similar sort of word. And St. Genydd is unusual, it's a blind valley, it only goes one way.
Yeah.
So in medieval times they put lepers there and whatever. But if you go back, right the way back to 6th century, or must have been much earlier, that's the sort of where, just down from there, Geltligay Common and that.
Yeah.
That's where you got your Polaris star, representing the centre. And by playing his game with Owain, he's allowing him to triangulate where certain star signs are, because then you can plot out the whole map. And I guess even cooler you think then, yeah.
It does.
And you can find them all now. The stones and mounds are still there, and the place names are still there. So you can drive around and have a look. That's what we do in our videos, the YouTube channel.
I've done the Google Map search for, you can
see them.
Totally easy to go driving around.
Go and have a look.
I've got on Google Map. But me and Matthew, we said for ages we're going to go into it.
Some of them you can get fairly close with your car. I'm going to do some of the crazy trudging over mountains you see me doing.
I don't mind doing that.
There we are.
I used to love walking. The last couple of years I've just got lazy, I think.
Yes, that's my exercise, walking up stupid hills in stupid weather.
But it's sort of, we were planning on doing stuff this year, but with everything that happened, it was like, oh well. They done it to stop us going.
Yeah, obviously, just where the Britain's in history thing was getting going. This Alan Wilson stuff's on a resurgence. We'll stop that. But the winter's a good time to go if you can put up with the weather, because all the ferns and everything dies back, and the trees you can see through them. Yeah, a lot, especially if you're doing lines of sight and stuff.
Well, yeah, because the Newport.
Caerleon and Caerwent and all around there,
the fort that is there.
Lodge Hill.
Covered in trees now.
Lodge Hill, yes, good reminder.
With the houses, getting closer.
Yeah, most likely that's Camelot, yes.
And there's so many places like that in Wales that have been.
Well, that was, I mentioned it in my video, I think you might have seen it, but in the 80s, plan permission had been given for the houses to go all the way over the top of that hill. And that is the 5-ringed hill fort.
Yeah.
It's a royal hill fort. But people make this they spend millions promoting the Roman bit, which is basically a port down on the side of the river. The castle up on the hill, commanding the area, the British bit. It was going to have houses on it. It's got a big electricity generator on the top. But because of the likes of Wilson and Blackett, back in the 80s, with other people, they campaigned and campaigned and campaigned.
Yeah.
And at least they got the houses to stop without going completely over it.
All right, no, I didn't know it was them that
Yeah, all part of that, yeah. Well, I think this is why they got into so much trouble, really, because they were causing a lot of awkward things for people with money and stuff.
Yeah, no,
and exposing various scandals.
No, I remember one.
It's best to stay out of it.
Let me have a think about this now. They found this stone while building a housing estate.
Oh yeah, that's the one in Cardiff.
That's right.
Yes,
that's quite an interesting story as well. You know, it's
that's
a bit
dreadful
now. You know?
Yeah.
But yet, I suppose it's still under there, wherever it is.
Well, how much has been lost, we don't know. Because if you remember, the other part of it was back in the 90s, I think it was, when they were digging it up, they found that massive lead sheet.
Yeah.
With writing on it. And that's the absolute heartbreaker. Just for scrap, yeah.
Scrap, like.
But yeah, as you say, when they were building the school in Cardiff, or Cardiff, depending which way you say it, then they were digging away and it hit this hard stone, which couldn't penetrate very easily. And as they dug, it got wider and wider and wider. So in the end, it gave up, and you can see there's a teardrop.
It's mad.
But you can see on my video on the Britain's Hidden History YouTube channel called "The Disappearing Wars of Cardiff."
Oh no, I haven't seen
because it's absolutely tragic, and this is one of those examples where you have to do things now, in the same way as Wilson and Blackett stopped those houses building over. Cardiff had walls all the way around it, massive, megalithic walls.
Right. Yes.
It's one of the things you see in, Crete or something, and everyone goes crazy. They were there in Wales. No interest. And over the last, the lad who took me around,
I have seen that.
Yeah. He's only in his 30s or 40s. He wasn't particularly old.
No.
And in his lifetime, just in the last 10, 20 years, loads and loads of those walls have been taken down and replaced with featherboarding. So I don't know if they just sold the stones, or a lot of them being used in gardens and stuff. But it's just one of the great archaeological sites in the world.
Yeah. This
massive ancient megalithic, and it's huge. It almost circles the whole village.
Right. And
you can walk all the way around. There's a couple of miles to walk around, and you can see where walls have been toppled over, and some of the blocks are huge. This isn't some farmer's wall. It's you're not shifting some of them stones,
You're playing stone drywall.
When you've got 12-foot walls with, sort of 5-6 ton stones on the top, you're thinking how they get them up there. This is like the ancient technology, megalithic building they call it.
It is, man. No,
but that's being ripped down all the time. So I'm trying to get away. And what I like to do is make some leaflets and just go around every house in Cardiff and say, do you realise what you're sitting on? There's loads of this all over South Wales.
With the chapel.
Well, the one in Miskin. Yeah, same thing there, isn't it? St. Cowdrops,
watching sort of different videos.
Oh, do you mean that the one up on, St. Peter's Supermorton?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Arthur's,
yes.
And to see that has got worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, almost disappeared.
Almost disappeared.
It's dreadful.
It is dreadful to think.
Well, they blame the local farmer that he's taking stones to do things, but I think it's more to it than that. Because if you look at the story of the way Wilson and Blackett were treated when they bought that land.
Yeah.
Because this old church, to give people some background, it's up on Money the Gare.
Looking over Bridge.
Yes, that's the point way of putting it. Yeah, well, St. Iliad, all the places I know, some of my maps in my head are all like 6th century maps. No one knows who St. Iliad is, or Trefran. Trefran is the town of Bran, which is just down the hill from it. And anyway, St. Peter's up on there. And it was just becoming derelict. Church of England or Church in Wales didn't want it. And Wilson and Blackett bought it. Not for very much, I imagine.
Yeah.
Just on a hill. Pointless place. It was delisted. It wasn't recognised. And of course, when they bought it, then they revealed, hey, guess what? We reckon this is one of the first churches in the world. This is 1st century. Not the building that's there. That's Norman 12th century or something. But so they paid for expensive excavation, all out their own pockets.
Yeah.
Going down and down and down. They found about 7 layers, and they could track this more or less to the 1st century. But to get to the stage of doing the archaeology dig was horrendous what they went through. Almost as soon as they got the property, the vandals were sent up there. They took some of the stuff out, and then they got arrested and were accused of stealing from their own property. Yeah, of course, all these charges got dropped eventually. Yeah. The hassle they went through and everything was dreadful. And then, of course, I think that the church was pretty embarrassed because they just sold this thing for a song, and suddenly it's historic. I think it's one of the first churches in the world. So all then this sort of smear campaign went out and rubbish in their name, and they had a speaking tour of America, and so all these things they mostly fought through the courts. But it's expensive business, and all he gets an apology.
Because the videos are there to to watch all the old videos of doing the excavation and everything.
Yeah.
They're all there, so people can actually just go to YouTube and type in out.
Yes, there's not a lot of footage of the excavation. You can see photographs now. I don't know why they're a bit funny about that. There's it's one of my bugbears. I wish they'd done more visual recording.
Yeah, because
that's why I got a camera everywhere, as you see. I just want to get it because things change over time.
They do. They
in
do.
20 years' time, you want to say, well, look at Garden Fife, for instance. I've done a video walking all the way around it.
And look at it now.
Yeah.
And where's all the history gone?
Because Anthony Williams did a lot of the work discovering that Garden Fife one, and you see the video that they made, only 10 years ago, and chunks of the wall are missing.
It is, because
this is happening now. Rich Planet, with Anthony Williams is the old boy he's with on there.
Right.
So I didn't mean to call the old boy Anthony, sorry about that.
Because,
he lives in North Wales now, it's okay, he's a long way to come. But Anthony, I must give you a call,
But no, it's such interesting, like I said, there's so much information that we could talk about that we could actually.
Well, just that church. So I mean, the church up on the hill, St. Peter's. Why it's so important is if you go back to the treachery of the Long Knives. This is where you get the whole thing of never trust a Saxon.
Right.
It goes all the way back to 450s when they'd be fighting a war, and basically the Welsh had won, and they come together for a peace conference, unarmed, and then the story goes that during the nights, when everyone's drunk, at a certain signal, all the Saxons then stabbed the bloke next to them, and it wiped out almost the entire aristocracy of Britain or Wales, the Cymry.
See, now that's really got it in Game of Thrones. That's it. See,
Oh, it's all Welsh history there. Tolkien's even more Welsh history. All the Lord of the Rings is Welsh history, and The Hobbit particularly.
Yeah, there's so much Welsh history in amongst it all, and I telling my son when we watch it when he was see what it's now. But
but all that's on that hill, you see, and there's the money of what's it called, Emiltia, the Road of the Warriors. All that's there, and that what is now a barren hill. If you go back to the 6th century, that would have been a citadel,
right?
With a town. You can still see footings where the guardhouses were, the walls where the castle would have been. There's burial mounds of Caradoc is there.
The boat.
And there's Tythefeld's probably buried there. And then you've got Trev Bran being first Christian ruler in the world probably.
Yeah.
Going right back to 1st century. And his town, and what you can still see, I noticed when we had a hot summer last year before, if you look down, it's been a dry patch, you can still see on the hill kind of squares and that, where the buildings, I imagine, I don't know, but it looks like there's a town laid out. And that's Trevran. It's on the map still, Trevran, but of course it's like nothing there now.
It is incredible when you think about, I suppose in the last 100 years, how much Wales has changed. Well, that book you wrote about the history of Morgan book, I like so much. So much of it has changed from, Aberdeen, for instance. It was small little villages throughout the valleys, and then they grew and grew, and they are what they are now.
Thriving metropolis it is today.
Yeah. And
I was born in Aberdeen, by the way, in case anyone was wondering. I'm allowed to say these things, it's all right.
But it's sort of how much have we lost of Aberdeen history because of all the things that have been built on top of each other. I know you go up to Hillwine, well, between Penwine and Hillwine, or Cumdale and
Cumdale, that's where I was from.
You got the mountain in between, but if you walk along that mountain, there's so many little caves and little mines that are you just don't know, and they're still there. But we just don't know that that they are. All this history is still right under our
Well, you go a
noses.
bit further up the valley to Penrhys, for example.
Yeah.
Which didn't have the best reputation when I was a youngster,
Abbey. It was an abbey.
Well, not only that, it was the 3rd most important pilgrimage in Britain.
Yeah, it's a walk from there to.
From Llandaff, you come all the way up. You can see the walks are still there up through Llanwano and all these places.
Yeah.
There's one of the reasons I keep meaning to put this video up. I made the video. I haven't quite put it up yet. Is if you look at Pontypridd Bridge,
right,
and how arched it is, well, obviously there are a lot of difficulties building it and 3 tries for a Welshman, all that. We all kind of know that part of the story. What everyone really thinks about is why did they build such a steep bridge? It's rubbish for carts and taking goods and everything. True, makes sense, does it?
No, it doesn't, because it's like,
well, my cousin Neil was, he got me thinking about it. He was showing me that if you look at the old pilgrimage trails, one of the problems was getting across the Taff.
Right.
And Pontypridd was the problem. So that bridge, and I can't prove this yet, but one of the things, if you want to go run with it, find it. If you find it before me, brilliant. One of the things they'd have built that bridge was for foot traffic. It was for people walking back and forth. It's the third most important pilgrimage in the whole of, the whole country. And you have to walk all the way up to Penrhys, which is, and Penrhys is like, when I was a boy, it didn't have a very good reputation, Penrhys. It was like a bit of a sink estate, wasn't it? And they built that as council houses over the whole. The amount of history that was lost in Penrhys, man, is just dreadful.
Strange place to build houses anyway.
Yeah, the most inaccessible place, isn't it?
Because it literally is on top of the mountain.
And the people, I had a friend who moved where I live now, Tontaig, from Penrhys, and he was saying that he was stuck.
Yeah, there's nothing.
There's nothing up there, and you couldn't go anywhere.
And if it snows, you're
really stuck. Yeah. Well, it's a bit like Merthyr Hospital, isn't it? You've got Prince Charles.
I know this, but
it's a totally inaccessible place. Yeah. But just one thing on that is one of the great tragedies, which is very difficult to unpick, is with all the mining and the tips. Is where they put the tips. Is the latest thing. Just Penny dropped a little while ago. We went to see a mound called Cwmtaru,
right, which
is actually down the hill from Mynyddig sort of thing, and we could tell by doing the readings and walking around and testing the ground and everything. What you have there, if you look on the map, there was a colliery there, or some sort of works, and part of it is definitely a tip. But the other half isn't. The other half is an old mound.
Right.
And we thought it'd be a mound there because it fits in with the Star Mound and everything. And Alan Wilson had written about it. You can feel it if you're on there. And also one half where the tip is all kind of bare, and then the other half has got lush grass. You can tell.
Tell the difference between the both.
Yeah, and another one, if you look at St. Genydd again, funny enough, in the picture of the first shovel load being dug, with the posh bloke opening it with a big hat on and everything, there in the background you can see a mound. So it's not spoil. Right. So one of the problems we've got is how much of it is tips and spoil, and how much is ancient burial mounds. Or if you've got a mound, how much has been chucked on top of the mound?
On top of that mound.
Because what I didn't, this is where we talk about rabbit holes. I had no idea the science and everything goes into coal tips. You don't just keep dumping it.
No,
because this stuff can catch fire, it can slip, you have to make it structurally sound.
Because we used to have the one in Mountain Ash, didn't we? That was on fire, the Kevin Penn.
Yeah, it was always on fire, that was. Because I used to play golf on Mountain Ash Golf Course. There was a bit of a smell up there some days. Well, obviously Aberfan was a tragedy, wasn't it? Of course, just up the road.
And so it's,
you don't realise there's a whole science to it. So if you've got a good spot with a ready-built mound, it's easier to put your tip against the sides of the mound than to start your own mound,
Yeah, because I suppose you
because you also have drainage and stuff. You have to have drainage and things, Like these old mounds, this was interesting, like the one in Unser Bull, the Toy na Glow.
Yes, no.
What you can see is the drainage shafts. And you can see where they come out. Because if you're putting treasure or something, the water has to go down through a sink and then slowly trickle out and disperse down the sides of the hill. That's another thing you have to do with coal tips, apparently.
Right, because this is one of the things we covered last time as well was Unser Bull.
Yeah, Two in a Glow, and the Ark of the Covenant,
Exactly, it's sort of,
I know, that's a bit of a mind-blowing one, that is, isn't it?
But again, there's so much evidence.
Got to be somewhere, isn't
it? And there's something under that mound.
Yeah, and you can see the drainage and everything.
No, you can. Again, you can go on.
And on the scanners, you can see that the top, I think it's the top 200 feet roughly is man-made. There's a hill, and then there's a mountain on top of it.
Because they let Alan and that in at one point, didn't they, to do sort of geophys, is it?
Yeah.
I only know that word from Time Team. A bit of geophys.
Well, LiDAR, I think they call it, isn't it? Yeah, ground penetrating radar,
And when they no, there is something under there. No, right, I want you out.
Yeah, that was strange there. I don't know what happened altogether.
It's a bit of a strange one. But I
think everyone got a little bit too excited as well. The widest has become. I mean, if you did find the Ark,
Imagine it.
You know, I mean, I know Barron panicked a few people because he was talking about we need fences, we need security, and we need all sorts of things. And you can understand that. Then the farmers panicked.
Well, yeah, but I suppose if it's
so big, wouldn't it?
But then,
I mean, you'd have to know, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you have to know?
Exactly. From their point of view, it's like they sit in, you know, basically their house.
One of the most important sites in the world, yeah.
And they see in this mound every day, and they bounce because they've been told what they think it is, and
they know by now, yeah. It's in books.
No, I don't want to know.
No, I can't be bothered.
I don't want to know.
No, we got all around the world. We got because I put my head above the parapet and become a bit of a focal point. Other people are doing it. I'm quite good at talking about it.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of companies in America, film companies. If we could just get the go-ahead to do it, they would make documentaries and films and all sorts. But they want the payoff. They're not going to make a program about it.
Yeah.
Without and then we dug a hole, you know, or then because there's supposed to be an entrance on the top you can get in through anyway.
Well, yeah, I think there was on I think it was the video they did.
Yeah, with old Alan Hassel walking around with his
thing.
Which I think was a really bad idea, by the way, because he had a really powerful thing all around him, and I don't know what he died of, but he didn't last. He didn't pass away.
It is.
To be actually in it like he was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, because he was. It was like a cage kind of
thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't
think of that,
guess or anything, but it does seem a strange.
Yes, strong radio waves, really, isn't it? It's
very powerful stuff. Well, he was one of the experts at that kind of technology, and he could go a long way down, and you could tell if it was ferrous or non-ferrous, because of course you got Nevin's one, haven't you, with the site of the Holy Cross, where Helen, the great Empress Helen, mother of Constantine the Great, who was also British. Anyway, that's another thing then. But anyway, that's another one where they've done the scanning.
Yeah.
And they think there is there.
But just can't get the permission.
No, and I was protected by CADU, and you can't touch it even. So.
Now, from a normal guy's point of view of it's interesting me. You know, I want to know. I want to know. Is the Ark of the Covenant inadmissible? Do you know what I mean? Is it?
That does bizarre. Well, that ties in again with the migrations. You see.
Yeah.
So if you can prove the migrations by the language connections and all that kind of stuff, it all feeds in, and it seems that there's a reluctance by. I don't think it's such a big deal now, but it was a couple of 100 years ago. They wanted to get rid of this British history.
Yeah.
And replace it with this sort of Germanic. The English are all Anglo-Saxons, which they're not. They're British, they're Cloiga, as it's still called in Welsh. The Welsh are Cymru or whatever, the Scots are various things, and so the Irish. Suddenly we're all Celts, we're just some barbaric. And that upsets people when you say we're not Celts, we're nothing to do with the Celts.
Well, again, because it's taken
Celtic pride, isn't it?
It's taken them out to the... No. That's the only reality I know.
I'm Celtic.
You can't do that.
We're fellow Celts. That's the Irish and the Scots, fellow Celts. It's like, look through the history. The Welsh and the Irish punched lumps out of each other for a couple of thousand years,
Yeah.
I think they were fighting all the way over in Syria, and they were fighting still when they got here, There's an example where it's obscured. There's the fact that Ceredig went over to Ireland and carved out a kingdom in Ireland.
Right.
We never hear anything about the Welsh taking a chunk out of Ireland.
No.
And there's a fort there in Branabar. It's just south of Dublin, a square fort. And they say it must be Roman, but there's no record at all the Romans being there. You see, so I think maybe that was a Welsh castle there.
Because Meirig, was it Meirig? They went
Madoc.
Yeah. Madoc.
Yeah.
It was close.
Yeah. That's good.
No, again,
you get it right next time.
It's sort of. Again, he was in America way before.
Yeah, in the 6th century.
And again, there's writings and proofs, of the stories. There was nowhere else for him to come back from. It had to be America.
Yeah.
Or at least Canada or that.
Well, the great little story, of course, is when Mercator was doing his maps prior to Columbus's voyage and Magellan's voyages. Because we've been researching Magellan to add more to this Odyssey book. There's a letter, you can find it on the internet. He wrote a letter to someone in Britain, I'll give the name in a second, asking for maps to follow. Because Magellan, for example, he knew there was a strait. So how the hell can he discover it if he's got a map with it on?
Yeah.
And the same with people going to North America, you see. Now, the person who had the maps as a Welsh name, Rhys ap Merrick. Because the question is, where does America get its name from? Because everyone says it's Amerigo Vespucian, I think his name is, or something like that. So but no one gets called. See, no one gets. You wouldn't name it after his first name. Someone called Amerigo whatever. You wouldn't call it after his first name unless he was a king or a royal. Whereas Ap Merrick was the guy who provided the maps for the journey. I don't know, Ap Merrick, isn't it? Sounds a bit more like it.
See what you did there,
Yeah.
So you'd have me thinking something else now, wouldn't
you? Yes. But what you have then, this language thing is crucial because when you go over to North America in the 6th century, but there's like Battery Cave and all these different places with strange writing, which clever person like Alan Wilson can use the old Welsh Colburn in the Welsh language to translate what was happening in the caves. And this was making real headway in the 90s. And there's someone called Lee Pennington, who's absolutely fantastic person. He's still going strong. The old Kentucky Historical Association and Alan Wilson and Baron Blackett, honourable knights, and they went over to speaking tours. It was really getting somewhere. And then one of the key guys, Jim Michael, passed away, unfortunately. And then for some reason, like you were saying, it was going quiet again. And now they're calling this writing, possibly Irish, possibly Ogham, and possibly this, or it could be native. This is the problem. You get the politically correct world coming in. Oh, it must be Cherokee or something.
Yeah, well,
you're taking away native thing, and it's like, well, it is what it is, isn't it? You know?
The writings in the Grand Canyon,
and I don't know. Yes,
it seems to be coming. I heard about them years ago.
Yeah, I know more about that.
Back now, and it's like, oh, right, okay. Come on.
The trouble was, they had a cave full of stuff, didn't they? And then the Smithsonian Museum.
Yeah.
As I call it.
We looked after that.
Yeah, the Smithsonian, where evidence goes to die.
I want to go to that weird house. I bet it's like
it must be enormous.
Do you know the one Indiana Jones?
Yeah. Area 51 and all that. It must be
something like that. It's like I want to just go open a few boxes and see what actually you're hiding. Because that's what I can't understand. Why would you hide these things away?
That's what we don't know, isn't it?
And
well, the Welsh Bibles, isn't it? Jefferson's supposed to have found a Welsh Bible amongst the tribe. Right. It created them a real problem when they were doing the American Constitution and everything. They come across, we're supposed to call them First Nation Americans now, Native Indians or whatever. I'm not being offensive to anyone. And they found a tribe there who were white. So you got the Meludgians, they call them, and stuff like this. They got different names, but they had a problem, you see, because there's a myth about America that it was all men are created equal and all this. Well, they weren't. It was white men were created equal.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are equal. And this idea of getting away for religious freedom, again, is complete reverse. Actually, they were religious zealots, and they didn't like the fact that Britain wasn't religious zealots. So they went away so they could have a strict kind of code. But the problem they had, only white people could vote. And then you got this tribe turning up. Well, we're white. Yeah, but that's not what we meant, because you were like, not one of us white.
Yeah, you're not one of us,
Yeah, you're white, but you're not really white, kind of thing. And what they discovered, of course, the stories then about them speaking a form of the Welsh language. And them having a Bible in Welsh, which had been the most important artifact ever.
Yeah.
And Thomas Jefferson, of course, who was Welsh, one of the first presidents of America, his family were Welsh. He spent a lot of time and effort to get this Bible.
Yeah.
What happened to it?
It's crazy gone.
What happened to it? The Smithsonian's got at least one, I reckon. And in South America, which come on to another story then, which is Alan Wilson's final project, if he can help him over the line a bit, was after the Americans had been in Kentucky and that kind of area,
right?
The Ohio River and that kind of thing. For some reason, then they moved west over to Arizona, down through Central America, and ended up in Bolivia. I've got a theory why they went there, but anyway. And Alan Wilson's theory is they became the Aztecs. I know this sounds another one of these mind-blowing ones when you first hear it.
Okay.
But with the Aztecs, you've got a ruling elite. And then you've got the tribes, and they never intermixed.
Right.
So the Cymry would have been that ruling elite.
Right.
So quite dwarfed by the total population. It wouldn't have been that numerous.
Sort of like the Egyptian kind of thing. It was.
Yeah, like a godlike race, if you like, and the writing there seems to tie in as well. But the difficulty we have, this is weird, right? There's caves and examples of the writing from that area, from Bolivia and Peru. You try and get a picture of it. You'd think it'd be the easiest thing in the world, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And there's pictures of this professor's like, oh, here I am in front of this cave full of writing, and he's you can't see the writing. And I've asked people in South America. I put requests out for years now because Alan really wants that would be his final thing to show that that's where the Cymru kind of ended up.
Well, if anyone wants to,
please
send this up. Me and Ross will go. We'll go check it out.
I'll fly to Bolivia. I don't mind.
Go over and do all that. But we don't want to go.
No,
we'll
awful.
Do it for you guys, obviously.
Yeah, preferably in the British winter.
Yeah.
I'll put up with the searing heat of the Bolivian jungle.
But it is quite interesting when you think about it. You got the Aztecs, you got the Egyptians, you got all these different sort of ancient civilizations that we know nothing about, or supposedly know nothing about.
Well, very little anyway.
But there's so many connections between them all, from the way they built the pyramids or just the structures. There's parts in South America built exactly the same in Turkey.
Yes, it does give it mind blowing. That is,
and it's like, well, it's a coincidence. No, come on, no.
Well, the problem with these, with the Wilson and Blackett's research, it always follows the written evidence.
Yeah,
that's the difference. Because with that, you have to guess. You don't really know those things.
That's and then when you've got evidence like that, then it's you said people still go,
Pyramids are a funny one, aren't they? Because it is the only shape you can build a tall building.
Yeah, I suppose.
It's the old thing, like beavers build their dams the same all over the world, don't they? And there's a sort of thing about that.
Yeah, there is.
I think it's when you get writing and symbols and things you can read,
and
then it's very difficult to explain.
The handbag.
Ah, right, go on.
The handbag. All the different civilizations all around the world have all got this image of somebody holding this handbag.
Yeah, that is.
And it's like,
I think that might go back to ancient Babylon.
Yeah, and it's sort of Sumerian and all.
Wow. And you see it on hieroglyphs or pictograms.
Yeah. It's bag for life.
And it's there's a few theories about the handbag. Yeah, if you read in pictograms in Egypt, what you have to do is pick out where everything is in Welsh, and then you can sort of
translate it all.
Like, for example, I just give you a couple of easy ones. You see a lot of the heads of the kings, they put the horns on them.
Yeah.
Well, in Welsh, you got corn is for the horn, and coroner is the crown. You see, so the two words give you the same. Corn is corn. So it's the crown. That's that simple. If you know Welsh, you can do. Yeah. You got to know the old Welsh, but I mean, it's not most of the words the same.
But it is. It's just that I think it's just having that. It just mesmerises me. To think that you can use Welsh for years. Everyone, they still.
We almost lost language completely, didn't we? In the 70s, it almost went.
But yet, it's having a revival in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more and more people.
We still need to make the culture. I think, though, this is the problem. I live quite near a Welsh-speaking school now, and it's amazing. It's like this magic force field. The second they cross the gates, they all speak English. Yeah,
not exactly the same. When I was in school,
how often do you speak Welsh?
Now, not very often.
No.
Now, before lockdown in work, because I was working in the BBC, so I got to speak Welsh every day.
Oh, you did, right? Okay.
But that was only because I was working in the environment. But most of my friends...
No, most people don't speak at all once they leave school.
No, most of my friends are not Welsh speakers, and the ones that are, we speak English because the others don't speak Welsh.
Yeah.
Sometimes, if we've had a few drinks, we'll do it on purpose because we just look at them and let them think we're talking about it. We're not really, we're just saying they think we're talking about it.
Yeah, as I say anything, yeah.
There is that.
Well, my mother who passed away this year, but the previous few years, carers used to come in, and I was amazed how many of them could speak Welsh, but I'd not said a word since they left school.
Yeah.
Even when their own children were now going to a Welsh-speaking school.
My son.
So why don't you speak Welsh in the house? Then you speak Welsh. They speak Welsh.
Both my children speak Welsh. Now, if I speak Welsh to my daughter, she will. Well, Sean will as well now, but. They both have. Sean is 26 and Andy's coming up to 25.
All right, okay, yeah.
In next week.
Little babies getting all grown up.
I know.
Yeah.
But through them growing up, I should try and speak Welsh to them when they come out of school. I'd speak Welsh to them, but they'd speak English back to me.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it?
And it was sort of, look, I'm not in school. I'm not speaking Welsh.
I don't have to, yeah.
But now they do use.
It's still there, like, isn't it?
Yeah. They do you. Yeah, they both do use it. So
you see, it's almost like when second generation people come to a country, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Because my wife always speaks Chinese, and you cannot get the children to speak Chinese. You try until she's blue in the face, and you talk to other Chinese families, you know.
Yeah.
Even when you put the children playing together, you can't get them to do it.
Still talk English because it's
It's all pervasive in the society, isn't it? Unless you turn off all media and video games and everything, or made them all in Welsh, it's not going to happen.
No, it's not. But I think it's...
as long as you've got an awareness and knowledge of it, and hopefully, I think, I'd say too old. As you're starting to get to my age. Well, I don't speak Welsh, but I'm learning it as hard as I can now. I really want to speak Welsh, and I'm trying.
There's a lot more people that
yes,
you said
but I appreciate it now, as I'm saying. I didn't have any interest when I was at school. It's a novelty.
Well, it was for me as well.
I think it was quite funny. I had to eat Hoffy coffee and all that stuff. It was just an amusing thing I did at school, like an intellectual exercise.
Yeah.
I learned quite a lot. Just got like puzzles.
Well, I was quite sort of against it because I lived in Mountain Ash. I'd have to travel to Pontypridd to go to school.
Oh, I couldn't just go to Mount.
And I couldn't go to Mount. All my friends were in
Mount. Yeah.
I was the only person, apart from my sisters, really.
That's the other problem, isn't it?
I grew up in a Fernal estate, and there was, half a dozen of people really that went to the Welsh school, and I didn't bother with them outside school.
No, of course not.
All my friends spoke English, so it was a bit of a, and because I went to the Welsh school, it was like picked on then because you go to the Welsh school. But
you're different, yes.
Yeah, but now the things that I've achieved in my life have happened because I can speak Welsh.
With the BBC and that's a door opener, isn't it? Speaking Welsh.
It really has.
And it should be as well.
Such a door opener for me, and I look back and I think,
thank goodness he did do that. Yeah.
I wish I'd worked a little bit harder, maybe.
I can all say that, can't we?
But it is, and I'm thankful now. And this is why I've told my kids, make sure you keep you as my grandson. He goes to Welsh school as well. And more of my English friends growing up, they sent their kids to the Welsh school. And now they grandkids start.
Excellent.
So
excellent.
It is, and it's so nice to see that the Welsh schools are busy.
Yeah, it does have a purpose with this history and everything.
It does.
It's a really important language. And I'll get back to that guy Von Bunsen, right in the 1840s. And the way he describes the Welsh language, what he says is there's you got what he calls, it's out of fashion now, what he call Indo-European languages. So almost all the languages across Europe and India, all can be traced back to a source in ancient Assyria. That's the root language, which is why if you look at Sanskrit, for example, there's a huge amount of parallels in Welsh. And some people say, this shows that Sanskrit's older and somehow the language came to Wales from India. No, they both have the same root.
Yeah.
So it's gone that way and it's gone that way. And you can find the same root. And what's happened in Wales, because it's right on the edge of Europe and incredibly belligerent and independent over, a couple of thousand years.
Yeah.
It was not invaded. There wasn't any great immigration. There's nothing. Just those people in this insular little country speaking their language. So it didn't change much over a couple of thousand years. There was no external influences. Where everywhere else you look, there's populations moving back and forth, there's invasions, the whole thing is constant moving tapestry.
Yeah.
Like you try and trace English, it's very difficult, You've got Anglo-Saxons coming in and Normans coming in. And
again, that doesn't make, it's just...
But was Welsh has stayed constant, and this is the Germans were pointing this out. The English academics wouldn't look at it. Wouldn't look at it. So it didn't fit the agenda then, of course. They liked this Anglo-Saxon superiority.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a racist element about it.
I suppose it is, yeah.
The English are like this, and the Welsh are the kind of... They invented a concept in Victorian times called British barbarism. You look at writers like Stubbs and people like that, and Edwin Guest, who were quite deranged, really. In those days, to become a professor of Oxford or Cambridge, you had to be a professor of divinity or doctor of divinity. You had to be Church of England, mainstream.
Right.
Very, and kind of these people were pushed into. I don't know again. They were elected into these positions. They weren't even the most suitable. But politically, they were perfect.
They were the right people.
And they set about creating this history whereby we're just barbarians until the Romans turn up, and then the Angles turn up, then the Normans turn up, and that's
And
there's a complete.
Well, there's so many holes in the story.
Yeah, and if you look at Shakespeare or something, he's written a play about King Lear. Well, Lear was a Welsh king.
Yeah. Well, there's the whole Shakespeare.
Yeah, Troilus and Cressida, which is set in Troy. You know, why are they writing plays about Troy and
if it doesn't
old Welsh kings like Lear and Macbeth, who was the Scottish one? There was a history there, and it just got deleted. It's terrible.
And you go around Wales, and most of especially sort of mid and North Wales, where there is more sort of farmland and things like that, Snowdonia. These fields are named after.
All around you.
Yeah, and around you as well. Yeah, they don't. So the history is there. So
this is why the language is so important, and not changing place names.
Yeah.
You know, I see that blinking massive development on the A4119 into Cardiff. Oh, it's called Danes Court or something. Danes Court,
yeah.
What on earth does Danes Court mean? Well, for start, what are the Danes doing there?
Yeah,
we never had Danes in this country, and Danes Court's meaningless anyway.
Yeah.
So Danes never came into Wales. What's that about?
I used to when
there's the old place names of those fields, like you mentioned, the farms around there. I can't remember all of them now, but there were some historical interest points.
This is the thing.
And some old stones and stuff, you know.
All that area around there, where what's it called?
The 5 Mile Lane one. That was the worst.
The posh area as you go to Cardiff.
Well, right, Radda.
No, a bit further than Radda.
Posher than Radda, Llandaff. Llandaff?
No. So you go to Llandaff, and then as you go down to sort of Barry, and then you carry on going, but you don't go.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, when my son used to have his violin lessons, how middle class does that sound?
But there's so much history in those.
St. Fagans.
Fagans and all those, those little villages all
I know, and
it's
being completely built over.
And again,
and stupid names put on places when they've done it.
And it is a shame, because you just go for a drive around those areas, and you'll find. Oh my God! I didn't know these places existed. You know, they are proper old little villages, and the houses are as old as well.
But we're not taught any of this in school. It's quite frustrating.
No, it's.
Like I used to go and play cricket over Miskin and stuff. You know, I played for Lantern Vardra, and I didn't even know that Miskin was the old Royal Hunting Lodge for the Welsh family. That's where they used to go. And you go there, like that video I did the other day in Miskin. You can see there, that was probably their manor and everything. That's where they would have their luxury place. Oh, we kicked off, are we? We're off?
No.
Oh, that's 11, my goodness. We have...
Let me give it a pause.
That's all right, there we go. Hit the 11:30 news break.
Right, I think he's sorting it out. It's the 11:30, he hadn't... I don't know what's happened. This is live radio for you folks.
Yeah.
We kind of ignored the people online.
Oh yes, well, I'm at an awkward angle here. I can't really. I'd like to sort of sit like this somehow.
And it's
Hey, there's never any technical issues on my channel. Just let you know. It runs like clockwork.
Well, it's because Arnie sorts it all out.
Yeah. You don't get whole chunks where there's no sound, or the camera's not working, or it's frozen. That never happens.
Well, we were sort of pushing into the thing.
Yes.
So the song I was going to end with the song.
We're going to sing for us. That's lovely. Come on, girl. That's proper live.
I charge far too much.
I've got a guitar in the car. I think we'll have a go now, shall we?
And so I got some Morecambe and Wise possibly. No, I ended the drive time show with this song as well. I just love Morecambe and Wise. And one of our DJs, or DJ presenters, I should say, not DJs. Louis is writing a book currently about Morecambe and Wise.
Oh wow, brilliant!
And
they are fantastic. Part of my childhood, that was.
There's a show on Thursday night called Louis Bath.
Back when telly was good.
It is, and he's done I think a Ken Dodd book. He's written a few.
Oh, wonderful!
Books. So he's doing a Morecambe and Wise one at the moment. So before I came down tonight, that's what on YouTube I watched an old episode of Morecambe.
Oh, yeah, I guess in a good mood always, isn't it? Genius. So I was going to say the Goithborough game I meant to mention. That's all right.
We'll have a look at that now.
Yeah, I better go in a minute. I think it's getting late, isn't it?
It is. It's a drive.
So if you're looking for that idea for Christmas presents, there you go. The beautiful box there. It's on the website. So you said you used to play the game Goithborough, didn't you?
In school, when you
because you get the rules and everything.
Showed it on online. I recognised that we played something similar in school.
We got the little board for the Welsh game, Goithborough, or Fitchel is the Irish version. Then you got the bigger board, which is supposed to be a Viking game, but again, you see, this reminds me of hieroglyphics because they reckon they can read Viking runes, and I think it's questionable. I'm just a polite way of putting it. There we are. Well, you end up with a word like hang on, HNEFE, taffel. So it's Niffertaffel, I think. Which is not a proper word, is it? Niffertaffel. Anyway, so I got a feeling all these games are British, but there we are, it doesn't really matter. So you get little wooden pieces in there, and then it's, well, it's a simple game, go through it all now, but to say, if you're looking for that last minute Christmas present gift.
You know where to go, Britain's Hidden History.
Britain History, yeah, that's right. Click on the shop there, and you see this. And I'll do a video tomorrow. I'll kick myself tomorrow, to show you play the game and everything.
To play the game.
Just to remind people, because this is a forerunner, well, not a forerunner, because chess is very ancient, but in this country it was played before chess and drafts.
Right. No, I like it.
And I'll put a draft set in there as well, just to make it up. Yeah, so the reason this is on there then, you see?
That's the star map.
Yeah, this is the star map. You can try and decode this yourself. And what we've done on the board, now you told me it's a camera, that's it now. Yeah, I'll never see it from this distance. But anyway, what you've got on the board, rather than just doing a plain board, there is actually a star map, if you look on there.
Yeah.
So you can see the Milky Way and the major constellations and stuff. So as you're playing, you can try and gain some awareness, if you like, let it seep into your subconscious, because it takes a while. See, I never bothered with stars and all that. It was no nonsense. All this,
yeah,
I was associated it with, you know,
astrology,
you're going to go and buy a raffle ticket kind of stuff in the paper, you know.
A bit of Mystic Meg.
Yeah, that's it. I love Miss. I was the Welsh boy, Russell. What's Russell?
Oh, Russell Grant.
Yeah, that's right.
Grant, yeah.
Great
he
was.
Yeah.
But all that kind of thing was. Well, I just say just very quick. I mentioned some of this last night, didn't I? What we don't realise is that when I was looked at, I'm rubbish at spotting stars and working them out anyway. But these tiny little white dots, you think nothing of it. Why would they be so bothered?
Yeah.
And then you realise, if you read like people like Velikovsky and the whole science is built off his work. Not that the mainstream follows it. The planets haven't always moved like clockwork. So when you see the astrolabes, those little mechanical things you see, you turn the handle and all the planets whiz around. That's not always been the case. Like Velikovsky showed that Venus, probably at most 6,000 years old. And you wonder how old the Earth gets into. You get into all sorts. It's not billions and billions of years. And you can show that the trajectories of these planets are all over the place. One of the reasons the most likely reason that we have an asteroid belt is where a couple of planets have pummeled into each other, and there's all the bits floating around. Because a lot of the ancient records talk about 10 planets.
Yes.
Then he went to 8, then he went to 9. So he lost one, lost a couple, gained one.
Know,
yeah.
So Nubaru's coming back with it.
Yeah. That's I'd like to know more about that. Yeah. But so when you talk about, for example, the Trojan Wars. When they're talking about the gods in the skies, well, what Velikovsky looked into, this is there's records all over the world, like the Great Flood, and things like the planets. Why are they so important everywhere? But if you work out looking at what's happening, the Mars on this erratic orbit would come really close to the Earth, and then the pull between the planets. Everything's going everywhere, rivers and everything's getting thrown all over the place, and the Earth's getting tilted, so you're probably getting massive earthquakes, disturbances. So Mars is the war bringer, and then it would go away, and this would be on probably a 26-year cycle, something like that. So you'd be watching the sky, because when this thing was close,
you knew that
this thing's about 20 times the size of a full moon. I mean, the whole sky red. Absolutely terrifying.
Imagine seeing that.
God, yeah, it would be terrifying, though, wouldn't it?
Would, yeah. Imagine.
I mean, sometimes you get a full moon. It's a wow. Look at that. It looks like it's going to land on your face any second, isn't it?
Especially when you see it, when you normally see it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my goodness, look at the size of that thing.
Getting bigger and bigger, and you see how freaked out people are getting with this. What do you say it was again? Nibiru or something, isn't it?
Yeah, Nibiru. Yeah, it's just supposed to be.
The K3 or something.
Hidden behind the sun, supposed to be making its way through with the.
Well, who knows? But there's the.
And the Anunnaki.
Oh, the Anunnaki.
Yeah.
But then you get to Lloyd Pye and his everything you know is wrong and all that stuff. Then.
Yeah, and
see, Lloyd Pye's a great example. Just tell me very quickly. He shows very convincingly why. What do you call where was it going? Macro evolution.
Right.
Versus microevolution. So microevolution is small evolution, small changes to adapt. So you got the famous chaffinches that Darwin found in the Galapagos Islands, and they got a different shaped beak, which lets them get the local thing. Aha, that proves evolution.
Yeah.
Except if you bring them back, within 3 generations, they'll go back to being normal chaffinches again. A new species has not been formed.
Yeah.
And as you can do with insects, because insects reproduce much quicker, get insects, put them in a strange environment, very wet, cold, hot, whatever you want to do, they will adapt.
Yeah.
If you take them back out, they'll go back to normal again. Like dogs.
Yeah.
All these pedigree dogs,
Yeah,
you let them crossbreed a bit, they'll be back to normal dogs within 3 or 4 generations. It's that quick. So it's not evolution. New species have not been created.
No, it hasn't.
Just been adaptations. A dog doesn't become a cat. And the idea of, even Darwin never said an ape becomes a human. So the problem is you have what's called a false dichotomy. You say, oh, well, that's all nonsense. Therefore, creationism must be the truth. But then you can rip holes in creationism. So what Lloyd Pye does, he said, well, what if both are wrong? And there's a third option.
No.
See?
Now we're talking. And
there you go. Oh, it's your subject.
I've got the secret to this.
Go on it.
No, I'm fascinated by the moon.
Okay.
I'm fascinated by the moon.
Yeah.
We're in ancient, especially Native Americans and us Aborigines say the moon is quite a new thing to the sky. Yeah,
okay.
The moon hasn't always been there. And so
that's interesting, isn't it?
Is it? And
it's very hard to explain the moon. I know that.
Yeah,
scientifically,
exactly.
It's very difficult.
Well, yeah, they've crashed things into the moon, and it rings like a bell.
Yes, I've heard this.
It's inside out, basically. The way they've described the moon is what should be on the inside is on the outside, and what's on the outside should be on the inside. It's very strange.
It's obviously possible to explain how it got there, isn't it? Because of see, my main subject is physics. Right? I don't do history all the time, but you don't have the rotational energy. If it's broken off the Earth, it wouldn't form in there. And if it's come from outside, how could it form a regular orbit like it does?
Around the
It would be on an irregular orbit. And if it was broken off from the Earth, that would affect the spin of the Earth because you're losing so much mass, you see. So they wouldn't spin at the right speeds as they do.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry, go on.
It
is a mystery, yes.
Is it an arc?
It does seem too light.
Is it an arc? Is it
an arc?
An arc.
Arc of what? Well, I mean a vessel.
A vessel.
Okay.
A vessel. So you're saying about the human thing of did we come from somewhere else and came in that?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Yeah.
So obviously it's just a theory.
Well, who knows? This is the problem with those, isn't it? Yes.
Well, it is.
But it doesn't. The conventional thing doesn't seem to apply. I would agree with that.
No, it doesn't. And then that's why I like looking at it. Well, what can it be? What can it be? Could it be this? Could it be that?
Yeah.
And then again,
good late night chats they are.
Yeah, they are. It'd be perfect for a radio show on a regular basis. Talking about things like that.
And explain stuff.
Yeah, and explain stuff and unusual sort of. Good idea.
Yeah, good idea. Yeah. Obviously,
talking about that.
Get all the science and ideas behind it. Give it a bit of a fair run out.
Well, again, thanks Ross for coming.
No, I've loved it. Thank you very much for the invite.
No, any time. It's great.
Jacs Towers. What do you call this building? Jacs Towers.
Jacs Towers. Yeah, this is Jacs Towers. The hub of Aberdeen.
The megalith.
Once known as the Shot and Shell.
Shot and Shell.
Yeah.
Shot and Shell.
When I was a young man, I used to.
What, they sell hunting gear or something?
No, it was just. I did just call it Shot and Shell.
Right,
that's what it was called.
What was it then? I was born in Aberdeen, but I don't really know Aberdeen because I've been to when I was young.
The history of it used to be a doctor's surgery. It was one of the first hospitals in Aberdeen, really.
This was a hospital?
Well, it was a doctor. It was Dr. Jones. It was Dr. Davis. Dr. Davis, I think his name was.
Right.
And this here was Stables, where we are.
Oh, wow, you're going way back now. Okay, yeah.
In where the dance floor is, you got the dance floor on there, and then on your
left,
there's a little room, and that was the mortuary.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
so it's put me off now.
It basically used to be a doctor's surgery and
a mortuary,
a mini hospital and mortuary. Yeah,
nice.
And he was one of the richest men in Aberdeen in its day.
Doctors always money in ill health.
Yeah, and he built this, and I think there was another private hospital then over by the health centre was. Well, it is now.
Because at the health centre I used to go to when I was a baby. That's what I used to. Yeah.
And there was an old hospital over there as well. It was just a couple of houses together. See, history things on Facebook. Yeah. Old Aberdeen. and there's people posting history things about Aberdeen on there quite often, so I get into that. But yeah, but this old building
fantastic.
has got quite a history in it.
Well, I feel very honoured to be the first show in here for the raid. That's
for Benney Bebbles. No, it's a pleasure having you, and thanks for coming up at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, we get over now, 20 to 12, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I'm back up now at 6 for the
breakfast
show
in
the
let
morning.
You go. Yeah, that's
in
impressive. That's impressive. I'll be up too early tomorrow morning.
We'll say goodbye to the people on the radio here now, and then I got to go to the other side of the room to knock down so they can keep me thinking. So thanks so much again for
thank you. It's been an absolute joy. I've really loved it. Thank you.
Definitely got to do it again because I could talk to you all night.
Yeah, we already scraped the surface, have we?
No, we haven't.
Oh.
So thanks to everyone that's tuned in tonight to Benney Bebbles. We're going to do some more in the new year, hopefully. I think I'm going to be interviewing all the presenters. I think that's
yeah.
And then everyone can get to know who they are. Don't forget, you can find Ross on YouTube, Britain's Hidden History. Also on Facebook as well.
It's all one word.
There. And go and have a look and join in.
Yeah, join the chat, the Facebook group. Very friendly.
Don't be afraid to talk. And and join in. They are a friendly.
Yes.
Right then, let me have a look what we got here. We're going to end with a bit of end and begin the next couple of hours of music.
Just warm up your next show now,
with a bit of Morecambe and Wise.
Bring me sunshine, is there? So we do that. Yeah, nice.
Here we go. So it's a good night from me.
Good night. Oh, sorry, good night from him.
Yes. Good night.
Switch to two Ronnies then. It was great fun.
Hello over there. Thank you very much.
Oh, goodbye.
I think 12 people watching.
There we go.
12 people watching. Thanks so much for tuning in.
4 to 12
We'll be back online. And we can look at comments as well.
Oh, I love comments.
John. We worked that out halfway through.
Yeah. This is like reading my comments on my show.
We can't hear you, Ross. Oh, there we are. They did comments. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And also, don't forget to tune to Jacs Radio and tune in to Ross on Sunday. Ta-da.